Recently having returned from Hong Kong is the racing manager for Variety Club and Marcus and Ingrid Jooste. Derek Brugman, seen in the emotional state that we know him after having seen him in Dubai with this incredibly joyous moment. This is a grade 1 performance out of the top draw, a true blue South African bred hero in Variety Club. Derek Brugman, thank you very much for your time and for joining us here on First Call.
Yeah, pleasure, Andrew. I must say it was quite an overwhelming experience. Not detracting from anything that Horse Chestnut has achieved in his career, his short career overseas, but I think it's the most emphatic victory by a South African horse on the world stage in a Group 1 that we've ever seen.
You know, without in any way detracting from the performance of Variety Club in the Godolphin Mile, you always made it abundantly clear as a racing manager that his main mission was this Hong Kong Mile, and that it wasn't an afterthought. It was something that Anton Marcus referred to as the correct surface for him. I think maybe take us through the process of him getting to Dubai, getting to Hong Kong, and the arduous nature of this horse's adventure to Group 1 status.
Well, Andrew, I think it's well documented by now, that it takes 5-6 months to get them there, where it starts with 3 weeks in Cape Town quarantine, 3 months in Mauritius, then you do a month in England, and then you still have to do your import quarantine requirements when you go to Dubai after that. But, that took me about 15 seconds to say that. And, one needs to understand the actual complexity of the whole process in terms of loading horses on and off aeroplanes, putting them in quarantine facilities where they can't exercise properly, shipping them from Southern Hemisphere summers to Northern Hemisphere winters within the space of a few hours, having to acclimatize, then having to travel back to a place like Dubai where it's 25, 30 degrees, where you leave England when it's -2. It's very, very tough. As humans, we dress warmly and we move from one climate to another, but it's a hell of a lot harder for horses to do that. And it's further testimony to the toughness and the quality of the horses that we produce back in South Africa, that they can actually stand up to this and then still go and perform on the world stage against the best around, be it in Dubai or Hong Kong or wherever else they may go and compete.
Look, Derek, the fact of the matter is that this horse is an entire. He's not a pushover. He's not a horse that you can just lead around on a lead rein like a school kid. This is a horse that has on his stable at Milnerton, where he was once stabled, beware, I bite. I mean, this is a manier, to put it in Afrikaans parlance, and he needs to be treated with great respect, but it just shows what incredible big match temperament he has to go through the rigors of this traveling and still come out and deliver the supreme performance, this freakish performance that the Hong Kong commentator alluded to.
Andrew, he's a bit of a boykie. I think we all know that. I don't think anybody goes into his box thinking that they can go and have a little picnic inside there. But at the same time, he's tough. This is the toughest horse I have ever come across. Well, certainly in the short space that I've been doing this for Mayfair speculators and for Marcus and for Ingrid. He's never had a vet ball for as long as I've been around. He just bounces back from whatever you throw at him. He's sound, he's tough. He's just the real deal, this guy. He is the supreme athlete. I'm at a loss for words to describe how tough this animal is, but there's no other way of putting it. He's just the toughest thing I've ever come across.
We've seen him win these great races, these weight for age contests in South Africa, and he never wins by ridiculous margins. But Anton Marcus on the night before the J&B Met said, you know what, I stick by the decision of the people that run this horse's career. I would love to have seen him in the J&B Met. I still think he's good enough to win over 10 furlongs, but his optimal trip is a mile, and even though he jumped from stall gate 12, it was like they were taking a knife to a gunfight, because he just jumped out of those starting stalls and asserted his complete authority on the race with such incredible power.
Yeah, Andrew, I don't know if you'll recall, after the win on Dubai World Cup night in the Godolphin Mile, people said that they didn't give him a hard time up front and they allowed him to dictate, and they made it sound like, that the race was gifted to him, and that the others didn't really do it the right thing tactically. I personally think they're very wrong. I think he he is so good in the early part and so strong in the early part of the race that he actually just doesn't allow anybody to take him on. And as a consequence, he makes it look easy. I don't know if you watched the fractions in Hong Kong on the weekend, but I studied those fractions prior to the race of the last 5 or 10 races that they'd run at that sort of over that sort of trip. And generally, because it's a standing start, you'll see times very close to the 25-second mark. And the majority of those races are in excess of that. And he, on Sunday, I think, clocked 24 seconds for the first 400 meters, which just shows you how much faster he goes from a standing start than any other horse. And I think that is quite well. Obviously, we all know it's one of his big weapons, but he has that ability to do that and then to finish off a race where mere mortals that he races against on most occasions just aren't capable of going at that speed early on and then still finishing their races.
They straighten up. Variety Club's gone deep. On the fence, Helene Spirit, Blazing Speed and the orange jacket going between them. Then Dan Excel and Able Friend is starting to lift on the outside as Variety Club, the South African races, 2 lengths in front. Can Able Friend pegging back? He's got the job to do it. Variety Club's going great guns inside the 100 metres. Able Friend can't make any more impression. Then Dan Excel going to third, but what a triumph. The first international success. And Variety Club roars away to beat Able Friend. Dan Excel in a photo for third with Glorious Days.
When you think about the amount of money that Marcus and Ingrid Jooste have put into this game, they so richly deserve a horse of his supreme quality. And there have been people like the Oppenheimers, the Becks. There's so many special people that have put so much money into the game. But to see that look of joy on Marcus's face when he led this mighty horse into the Sharton parade ring to celebrate this great moment was truly heartwarming.
Andrew, I can assure you all those people's names that you mentioned now don't buy horses because of what they cost or what they can return for them. They do it because they sincerely love horses. And as you say, for those moments that these horses provide, like it did to Marcus on Sunday, deserve is not relevant. Money is not relevant. It's that special feeling that you have once in a lifetime when you're standing in front of a crowd of 22,000 people in Sharton and you've just won a Champions Mile, which no other international horse has ever done. You've done it from a draw that no local or foreign horse has ever won it from, and you've beaten 7 of the top 40 rated horses in the world in the process, and not just that you beat them, but you absolutely annihilated them. And that combination of factors, you just can't get any better than that. And you're quite right there. I don't think you're going to get the smile of Marcus' face for a very long time. But for him, it's purely about having that success rather than any amount of money or deserve or anything else.
Well, you know, standing on that rostrum, hearing the polished tones of the Hong Kong police band play out the South African national anthem, if ever there's anything that's going to reduce a man to tears, it is that. And it must have been such an incredible, proud moment for Marcus, for Ingrid watching back home, for yourself, for Anton, for Mike, and for every single person associated with this great horse, not least of all Trevor Brown, who's also travelled the world with this fellow.
Yeah, Andrew, look, it was, as I said earlier, you can't really put those sort of emotional feelings into words. But while we were standing on that rostrum and singing the national anthem, I whispered to Marcus, I said, this is the closest that you and I are ever going to get to playing for the Springboks. And, you know, I think that more or less sums up that feeling of pride of your country and what you've achieved. And, you know, it was truly a spectacular South African victory, and we're very proud of what we've achieved, but more so we're proud of South Africa and what South Africa has been able to produce and achieve on the world stage. And I don't want to speak about negative things, but I must tell you we're very despondent at the fact that it was never shown on the local TV for the local South African racing community to witness. I understand the politics behind it in terms of the things that are going on with the bookmakers and why the live feeds are not being shown, etc., etc. And I think it's a very valid fight that's been fought on that front. But our own families and friends and Marcus's family couldn't watch it. All his colleagues that support him in his South African racing endeavours couldn't watch it. So, you know, the guy in the tote managed to watch it. Some places, Pippa said there was no sound in the tote where she had to go and watch it. So it's very disappointing from that perspective, but and I need to say that because people need to hear it. But from our perspective, let's rather than concentrate on the positives.
Yeah, I echo your sentiments because I watched it on my laptop, not even in my own house, and I filmed it on my little telephone to try and get it onto the airways for as many people as possible. But it was the happiest and the saddest day, and I think let's leave it there. Let's move on to the possibility of this particular Asian Racing Conference, with the freshness of this enormous victory being taken to the masses and being taken to the people that make the decisions as far as getting our beautiful horses out into the racing circuit, a road that you've traveled long and hard right from the time that he achieved his highest goal in South Africa by winning the Queen's Plate. What's your take on the prospect of South African horses getting out onto the market as we have tried so hard to achieve with the veterinary science and the unassailable logic that has been presented to the world?
Andrew, well, I'm not going to dwell on that because there's a very simple answer to what you've asked me. And one of the biggest power players in Asian racing stood right next to me afterwards in the parade ring and said he is going to make it his personal mission to ensure that South African horses will be delivered in Hong Kong in good time, and he will not rest until that happens. So I think let's just leave it at that, but it's going to happen. Andrew, thanks very much. Thanks for the interview. And as Anton said, Variety Club allows us to make mistakes and still win races. So it's all up to him, and we're very grateful to have found such a special horse.
Here to the horse. Thank you, Derek.
Thanks, Andrew.